Hello everyone, it's Warriors NRL Fanatics. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, and tonight we are going to digest that heartbreaking result against the Melbourne Storm. That's right, we're going to go through it, give our thoughts, and joining me tonight is a special guest on the channel. We've actually had him on before. This is the first time this year we've got him on, so it's Sam Hewat from the SENZ radio and the host of the Running It Straight podcast. So it's good to have you on, Sam. Good to have you on for the very first time. Hope you're doing well.
Doing very well, Christian, mate. It's good to be on. I know we tried to tee something up a couple of weeks ago and couldn't make it work, but it's good to be on tonight, albeit after a very heartbreaking loss on Saturday night. You got me on at the best time, didn't you?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we got you on at a time where we lost the game and not won the game. So, but anyways, we'll give it our best views on the game, and you'll say hello to everyone in the chat. You got Will there. Hello to Will. Hope you're doing well, and hello to everyone who's watching. Before getting into it, make sure you don't forget like the live stream as well. Click the thumbs up button, and also don't forget to subscribe if you are new viewer. Subscribe to this channel as well, and make sure you also go ahead and follow Sam Hewat on the socials, and go check out the SENZ radio stuff. They do the Running It Straight podcast. Is that right, Sam?
Yeah, that's our weekly rugby league show on a Thursday with Anthony Gelling, and then obviously we've got all the games. We commentate all the games live, awesome. Home and away. So
awesome, yeah. And you can also, if you can't get that, you can also get it on the podcasting platforms as well of Apple and Spotify, which I've been listening to a lot of your shows on the Apple podcasts. Tune in there. But let's get into it. We'll get into the game, digest it. So starting off with this one against the Melbourne Storm, Melbourne Storm, we know, having a remarkable record at home against the Warriors. Warriors haven't won this since 2014. A crazy record. We haven't beaten the Storm since 2015 in general. So how did you feel like going into this game? How did you feel? Like, did you feel relatively confident? Because there's a few concerns with injuries with Wade Egan, Kurt Capewell leading into this game. Kurt Capewell obviously played. Wade Egan ruled out with Freddie Lussick coming into the side. So what were your general thoughts there?
Well, I'll tell you what, Christian, going through the week, you're obviously prepping for commentary, go through all the stats and all the past results and everything, and it painted a pretty grim picture for the Warriors. It sort of took my confidence away a little bit, but I reflected back on the Sharks' performance and I guess where we built from in 2023 and thought, actually, I'm pretty comfortable here. I think we could go up and do a job on them. Team list comes out on Tuesday. Obviously, Egan's in there as well as Capewell, although there were big question marks around, whether Wade Egan would actually end up taking part. And then in the 24-hour update, we find out that Wade Egan isn't going to be there, and it's going to be Freddie Lussick was Jazz Tavanga on the bench, and then that got changed in the 1 hour update. As it got closer to kickoff, I sort of felt I sort of leant towards Melbourne. I thought, they obviously didn't have Cam Munster, but just without having Wade Egan at the ruck, I'm someone who will talk about this till the cows come home, that Wade Egan's, one of the most underrated players, not just sort of, I guess, in the Warriors setup, but obviously in the NRL. What he brings to the team sometimes isn't always tangible. It's not tackles made, it's not run meters, it's not try assists or line break assists. It's deceptiveness around the ruck. It's manipulating defenders. It's catching defenders not square and getting them away from marker, and then drawing in, so he can set up the Adam Whanua Blakes, the Mitch Barnetts, the Jackson Fords, the Tohu Harris. So very undervalued in some of those aspects of his game. And I looked at our team and thought, where's that coming from against Melbourne? Who on that park is going to be doing that? And I didn't really think it was going to be Freddie Lussick. So I moved to Melbourne, and that's who I had right up until kickoff. Then about 10 minutes before kickoff, seeing the boys out there running around, going through the stats and the numbers again, following my heart, I backflipped to the Warriors. I jumped on NRL tipping and all my tipping comps. I tipped the Warriors. And I tell you what, Christian, with 78 minutes gone in the match, I thought I was a genius. I thought I'd caught everyone off guard. No one else in my competition, my tipping comps had picked the Warriors. They'd all picked the Storm. Wasn't to be in the end.
Yeah, so just hello to Wash Days and Wasted Nights saying, hi, guys. Unlucky for the Warriors. And T Miller's just asking you here a little question here. No more Kempy on SENZ. So yeah, well, just there. Well, what's the go there? No, Kempy anymore. It's got a new co-host there, and Anthony Gelling. So yeah, what's happening?
Yeah, just Kempy. I think at the end of last year, that mutually parted ways with SENZ, and obviously we needed someone to co-host the rugby league show as well as the commentaries, and so that's when we got Anthony Gelling for the running it straight, and we've got Blake Ashford doing the commentaries with me, which he helped us out a bit last year, actually filling in too. So that's basically what's happened. Nothing too much more than that, really. Sometimes people move on from jobs or move away, and that's, I guess, how it all played out. Obviously, I was disappointed not to have Kempy with me, because we had formed such a good bond last year, and good chemistry on the commentaries and that sort of thing. But yeah, it just, I guess, is the reality of it all, and trying to do his best, trying to do better than what we did last year. This year, just sort of trying to get better every game. So that's the goal.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, look, the start of the game, just the way the start of the game. So there was on the back of a penalty given there, and away for a tackle in the middle from Rocco Berry. And the Melbourne Storm, they struck first with a very good kick there by Jerome Hughes, and William Warbrick. He scores the opening try for the Melbourne Storm, and they take a 6-0 lead in the 35th minute. What were your thoughts there on the try that the Melbourne Storm scored there? How did you feel in regards to that?
That was probably the. And I know we're going to go through some of the other moments as well, but that was probably one of the moments of the match where I just thought the Warriors did slack a little bit, particularly on that set, letting Jerome get such an easy kick away. And then, I was a bit disappointed the challenge wasn't as intense from Marcelo as perhaps we'd like to see. We know Will Warbrick's, fantastic in the air. He's that type of winger that will rise up above most, but I guess just the lack of challenge. Marcelo was even caught maybe a couple of meters out of position anyway. He was probably too far in field. But, pinpoint kick from Jerome Hughes, that it was the one try really for me that was preventable, avoidable for the Warriors, and that I was a little bit disappointed in. But yeah, I guess it gave them a bit of that first half momentum. Good for them, from their point of view, to score first at home and try and sort of take out the energy of what sounded like a pretty good Warriors crowd there too. And set them up for the first 40 minutes.
And looks the way to start this game, they were pretty much. I thought they were the dominant side early on this one, and then the Warriors then score their first try of the game through Dallin Watini-Zelezniak in the 28th minute there, and it was 6-4. It was actually a great play there to set up Dallin there for that try. So what are your thoughts there on that try? I thought it was a very good well worked try for the Warriors here to start this game.
Yeah, great. Actually, great support running as well from, I think Kurt Capewell was the man who drew in Remus Smith to sort of, allow that overlap with Taine Tuopiki then onto Dallin. So great support running, great decoy plays, perfect precision passing from Sean to Taine and then onto Dallin. So, you don't score those tries very often against Melbourne, Christian. That's a pretty well-worked manoeuvre that, you saw last week with Penrith. Even they struggled to get right. So not only was it an important try to get them back in the game, but it was a beautifully worked try against one of the best defences in the comp. So it was a great way to get back.
Yeah, it was a good way to hit back for the Warriors, and I thought that was quite the key that after that early start by Melbourne, they got a try back. 6-all there, and then 25th minute, Melbourne again. Ryan Pappenhausen with the offload to Jerome Hughes, who beat a number of Warriors defenders, and he gave the ball to Nick Meaney to score right by the post there. The Melbourne Storm, just off the kickoff, I think it was just off the kickoff there, they marched down the field quite comfortably, and the Storm got back the lead there in 12-6. So I felt like defensively, to start this game, I think the Warriors just, were a bit slack in terms of their defence. So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that first try was the one that I was really, I looked at and thought, that's probably preventable. That try's just, I mean, those ones are very hard to stop. Yep, we could look at it all day and argue that players should have collapsed in around the ruck to cut off that space that Jerome found himself in. He obviously burnt, I think it was Capewell and then Tohu Harris before giving it off to Meaney. You've got two backs there with express pace going up against two back rowers out of position. So, we can sit there and say that the Warriors perhaps structurally could have been better in that position, but it's a pretty freakish try. I mean, it's an 80-metre try. Hughes inside to Meaney, who's basically got clear space in front of him at this point. I thought it was interesting, like Roger coming across clearly had the pace. He was catching Meaney at a rate of knots, but then he opted to go for the ankle tap. I thought maybe he might, if he had sort of given himself an extra metre or two, might have been able to just, cut him down. But it's as I said, that wasn't a play that I looked at and sort of thought, man, the Warriors are playing poorly here and they're getting pulled apart. It was, for all intents and purposes, a bit against the run of play. I mean, I know it was an even first half in terms of the numbers, the meters and that sort of thing, but I just felt like it was one of those plays that a good team executes and it's very hard to stop. So, it's at that point the scoreboard. Well, actually, after the next try, I felt like the scoreboard probably didn't quite reflect, the closeness of that first half.
Yeah, and 12-6 and then the 22nd minute there, the Free Lussick makes contact there on Jerome Hughes while kicking. What was your thoughts there on that call? Because I felt that was probably fair and he probably shouldn't have done it, but they got a penalty off that. Yeah, so
fair. I mean, fair play. Fair call. It was the right call. It was silly from Freddie. Absolutely no need to do that. If you're gonna put pressure on a player kicking, you can't touch him. Don't even bother. Going close to him. You can run up to him, but don't even try to touch him because we know how the referees rule on it. Even if he wasn't in the air, arguably with how hard he went into that tackle, he was probably going to get called for something. So it was just a silly penalty to give away. And not what you'd want, not what you really need to want to be doing when you're already behind on the scoreboard, right? And essentially last tackle. So, you're giving them a whole nother set of 6 now in your own end. I think that's something that Freddie will be talked to about in the video session. If it wasn't today, he'll get a talking to this week.
Yeah, that was a bit of a disappointing play there by Lussick, but the Storm, obviously, they extended their lead. They took a 2-point. They took a penalty goal there, and they extended their lead out, and then it's out to 14 points to 6 there to the Melbourne Storm. And then the 18th minute there was when Ryan Pappenhausen scored for the Storm, and they got out to an 18-6 scoreline there. And what was your thoughts on this play here that the Storm set up to get this try to 18-6?
So I think it was it Katoa or Liero, whoever it was the opposite with the second to last try. But it was just a brilliantly worked move. I mean, Andrew Webster even said it in the post match. He said, "Look, that's a play that you'd teach to anyone. It's just pinpoint, perfectly drawn up to expose the defence." And in a way, I felt like the Warriors, you can't really do much about that, but sort of sit back and applaud them for pulling off something like that. And it's sort of Pappenhausen at his absolute best, running at pace, perfectly timed pass, perfectly timed run, and he's in for an easy try. So, it was at this point where you look at the scoreboard and you're 18-6 down and you're thinking to yourself, it doesn't feel like we're 18-6 down. I mean, yes, they've scored 3 tries. 2 of them, like I've mentioned, have sort of been almost unstoppable in a way. But outside of that, hasn't felt like we've done anything sort of particularly wrong. So, it sort of was a bit of a shock to the system that it's 18-6 and you're going into halftime sort of saying, how are we behind by that much? But I guess that's what the good teams do, right? They are able to stop you at one end, take their opportunities at the other end, very opportune moments of the game for them and find themselves in front. And that's, arguably what the Warriors over the first 2 games have sort of missed it, has been able to take advantage of the moments, when the opposition is perhaps on the ropes. But it was 18-6 at halftime. I sort of was scratching my head as we went in for the break.
Just want to say that. How did generally what you felt of going into halftime? I felt like at 18-6 down, it was a good score for the Storm, but it didn't feel like we were that bad. I know our completion rates weren't great in that first half, and I think Webby mentioned that quite a bit in his press conference, post-game press conference. He mentioned the completion rate. So, how did you feel going in the second half? Because I felt like if we can maybe apply a bit of pressure early on. Maybe we can get something going and get back in the game. So, what do you think? Yeah.
I sort of agree with you there. Like you look at the first half, didn't play particularly poorly. We don't get me wrong, there were things that we didn't do well, and completing sets was a big one. And there's certainly more we could have done. I thought a lot of Sean's kicks were great, but we maybe just didn't contest them enough in the year. There were moments for sure in that first half that the Warriors would look at and say we needed to do better. You remember as well last year, a big symptom of the first sort of 4 or 5 rounds for the Warriors was losing. The first 20 minutes of a game, we would let teams score 2 or 3 tries and then we'd come back. That was sort of what we did for the first 4 or 5 rounds. And Andrew Webster sort of said, one day we're going to get this right and we're going to start strong and we're actually going to finish. It sort of felt a bit like that. Yeah. So, coming out of halftime, and I remember talking to Blake at halftime, it was, and Blake, this is what Blake Ashford said. He said, it's not, these aren't big fixes at halftime. They're not massive changes. It's not big, sweep the broom. It's not like we need to bring on, so-and-so to replace this guy and he's getting tired. It was just little things, doing them right, getting back into the system and the process that was going to fix things. And I think you saw it basically from the first whistle, right? All of a sudden, the passes were crisper, the runs were harder, we were making easy meters. The kicks, were well chased, and Sean was putting them, on a string like he normally does, and that's what set it up for us. That's what made that second half such a breeze. And look, Melbourne we put them on the ropes in that second half. They were hardly getting tackles in our own end. They were doing nothing on attack, bar the last 2 minutes, which we'll talk about. But it was for all intents and purposes a near perfect, sort of 30 minutes from the Warriors after halftime. And Christian, this as well as I do. Over the years, that against a Melbourne team, when you're down 18-6 at halftime, the end scores, it's got probably a 5 and a 0 in it plus. And here we were coming back, fighting back, that's what Warriors fans love to see. That's what we've always cried out for, is being able to stay in the fight, not give up, put in the effort, and hopefully we'll get the reward for it, which they did up until minute 78. But it was entertaining.
Yeah, and Jacko, he's in the chat. Yeah, hello to Jacko. Yeah, good to see you in the chat. Hope you're doing well yourself. He's one of the most loyal viewers of my channel. He's always here commenting and watching my stuff. So good to see you, Jacko. But yeah, look, I was reminded during the commentary of on Fox. I was watching on Fox and KO here in Australia, and they kept repeating, I think it was Innes. He was saying that the Warriors. We would have had some demons over the past with a couple of the 70-point score lines, and then you keep mentioning it, and then like at the start of the game, like once Melbourne got off to an 18-6 lead, you keep mentioning. I was like, oh God, stop reminding us. Like you keep mentioning it in the commentary about the Melbourne still putting 70 or 60. They did that on Anzac Day a few times to us, and I was like, 18-6 down. I was happy. It was only 18-6. It was only 86 at half time, so I felt second half, like getting into the second half here. So, and for 34th minute, speaking on this, high shot there from Tui Kamiko on Jackson Ford, and the Warriors get a penalty. And in the next play, Sean Johnson there with a brilliant pass to Remus Smith, caught out of position here, and Rocco Berry to Darren Wittini-Zelezniak in the corner, and the Warriors close the gap to the Storm, and it's suddenly 18 points to 10. It's game on. It's game on in this one. What a try this was for the Warriors.
Yeah, Dallin in the corner. It's, death taxes and Dallin scoring in the corners, 3 things you can bank on life. I obviously super impressed with Rocco Berry, not just the try assist there, but his defence in the game, his kick chase, his effort, how he transformed in 2023 and where he is now. He's cemented himself in that starting 13 and deserves every bit of the minute, every minute that he gets out there, he deserves it. So, great tip on from him. Dallin doing the smart thing and just basically pinning the ears back and running as far to the corner as he can, and doing what Dallin does. And look, that's just what I was talking about before about the small things and then getting them right. It's like right after halftime, you go and produce that. You're back in the game, to your point, Christian, it's 18-10, and you actually feel like you've been in the game. Well, now on the scoreboard, you are in the game. And so you get the confidence built along with fixing a couple of the things you missed on the first half, holding on to the ball, getting the better meters, making sure your execution, your decision-making is better. And here we are, 18-10, kick from Luke Metcalf from the sideline, which was difficult, and he missed it. But the confidence is high, right? We feel like we're right back in it.
Yeah. And I'm not too sure what the go was there with Sean Johnson not doing the goal kicking. They've handed it to Luke Metcalf. I'm not too sure what are your thoughts there on that? Because it came out of the blue that they handed it to Metcalf to do the goal kicking.
Yeah, not 100% sure. I mean, obviously there was Sean picked up an injury in the preseason there. He had his leg all strapped up, might have even been in a moon boot for a little bit. Maybe it's just load management. He obviously did a lot of the kicking last year. Then towards the end of the season, as he picked up that injury, they took the kicking duties away from him. Maybe it's just a way of freeing him up a little bit more from that duty, as well as keeping his legs fresh. I'm not against it. I mean, Sean's a great goal kicker, but I think Luke's pretty handy as well. He just needs a bit more time in it. But I'm not that fussed or phased by that sort of decision if it is just a sort of preventative measure, you know.
Yeah. I don't really mind either way. He's the goal kicker at the end of the day. It's just who the Warriors have trust in. They put it in that player, and he gets the job done. So Jacko is just reading Jacko's comments here. So I'm not annoying you, Jacko. So he's saying you had too many errors, unable to close the game, which was there for the wins. We have work to do to be real contenders. And Jacko is also another comment here. Great to see both Lussick, Tuapiki, and Metcalf extending contracts. Unlike many, rate Lussick highly. He has heaps of upside. So just a little quick thoughts on that. What are your thoughts there on the re-signing of Freddie Lussick and Luke Metcalf on 2-year extensions? What are your thoughts there on that?
Yeah, I'm not a Lussick sort of hater or detractor at all. But I might not be sort of as highly optimistic as Jacko was there. I still think Freddie's got a lot to prove, and at the moment he's quite a simple ball playing hooker. He passes off the deck and he finds the hands. He, like I said before, doesn't have the ruck deception, the manipulation that a Wade Egan has when drawing in defenders and getting little darts out of dummy half. He's not quite that player. I think he had 2 runs on the weekend for 20 metres or something. So, he's developing that part of the game. Probably to Jacko's point, there is upside there. So I think the reality is we are the one position we lack depth in at the Warriors at the moment is the hooking position. So you think about in behind Egan and Lussick, we've then got Paul Roach in reserve grade. And it's really just relying on utility players, isn't it? Guys like CHT and Jazz and Dylan to sort of play hybrid roles. So I think it's a good signing in the fact that it allows us to, build a bit more depth at hooker. And then Metcalf really is the future. I think if you go through the stats, I've got a couple of them in front of me here just from the game, and you look at Luke Metcalf, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 1 tackle break, 64, run meters. Compared to Sean, who basically had no try assists, no line break assists, no tackle break assists at all. It sort of shows that switching of the role of the playmaking role and getting Luke to do a bit more and taking a bit of that pressure off Sean. We still need Sean. We still need him in the big moments. We need his kicking game in particular. But Luke taking a bit more of that responsibility, he is going to be, what we rely on when Sean inevitably retires, potentially at the end of this year, if not next year. So that's a great lock-in for the Warriors as well, because he'll be hot property. Trust me, Luke Metcalf is hot property on the NRL market. There are not a lot of talented numbers, sixes rolling around the NRL. So great to lock him in for another 2 years. Yeah,
definitely. And just on the next bit of play there after that try, which was 18-10, RTS, Roger to RTS, starting to get a bit more into the game in the second half, really started to find a bit more rhythm. And this was a huge play, actually. He leapt up in the air and he tried to maintain position for the Warriors, and he did so. And then he flicked the ball out to Jackson Ford. And I thought I didn't think this was going to be a try. They had a look at it a few times there in the bunker. Jackson Ford didn't look too confident on his face there, but the Warriors, they actually overturned the on-field decision, and they said it was a try. What were your thoughts there on that? Because I didn't feel like he was going to score that, but the bunker said otherwise. They said otherwise. They actually went in favour of us. Don't often say that, but
not against the Melbourne Storm either. It's a rarity. Firstly, amazing, perfect kick from Sean. You remember it's off the back of the kick. Rocco Berry picked it up, and then got very close to the line himself. Great kick from Sean. Great chase from Roger. Very athletic to hold the ball on the ground, flick it up to Jackson, and credit to Jackson for holding on to it. But to your point, I almost couldn't believe it, Christian, because it goes up as a no try. And as I was watching it, I was saying to Blake Ashford, well, there's obviously no evidence here to overturn it, or it's not conclusive. Yes, it sort of looked like the ball, he had maintained position, but was it on the line? We don't really know. Did he then lose it when he was trying to plant it? And then all of a sudden they say it's a try. And I just thought, you know what? I'm not even going to argue with it because I feel like we deserve one of those from time to time. So surprised, but obviously happy that we're there, bringing the score back once again.
Yeah, and back-to-back tries for the Royals, actually, and that we're well back in this game now on the scoreboard. Only 18-16 down, and plenty of time in this game. But in the 24th minute there, the Warriors get another penalty, and it's for the Storm being offside inside the 10 metres there. And I think it was Jonah Peasant and Remus Smith, the offenders, from what I saw there. And the Warriors decide they're going to take the 2 and level the game. So I thought that was actually a good decision when you think about how long this game's going to go, and there's plenty of time left and no panic stations. So we took the 2 there, leveled the scores up at 18-all. And then the next bit of play there, I think it was at the 20th minute there, we took the lead. Was a brilliant long pass here from Luke Metcalf, speaking of Luke Metcalf there. And Marcelo Montoya goes over to score. It's 22-18. The Warriors are in front. What were your thoughts here on that play?
Well, a very mature looking play from Luke Metcalf. I just mentioned before, young kid, he's 25 years old, he's playing in his 21st NRL game, and where most halves and probably even most coaches would tell their halves, just ball through the hands. You had Roger waiting there. I think you might have had Jackson forward on that side as well. And instead, Luke Metcalf sees that Will Warbrick has cheated in. There's space out on the left, and he does that perfect, inch perfect pass over the top to Montoya. It's just a very mature, well executed play from Luke Metcalf, and that's what that confidence brings you when you feel like you're coming back into the game and you feel like you're on top of a team. You have that. You have no fear. You have the confidence to go and do stuff like that. So brilliant. Fantastic pass, fantastic read of the defence. Montoya strolls in and makes up a little bit for what I know people aren't happy with in that first half when he was held up by Jerome Hughes. There, people thinking he shouldn't have cut back inside. He should hold the ball on the left hand. He's still a great finisher, Marcelo, and obviously in the right place there from that pass and doing a good job of finishing it off. So nearly lost my voice with that one, Christian, because obviously we took the lead with not that much time left.
Yeah, and I'm very excited. I was up on the couch here, cheering very loudly, it was good to see us get the lead there. And then the Storm again giving away another penalty. The 14th minute there, I think it was Harry Graney threw the ball into Jackson Ford. I think what he was trying to do was trying to get a penalty for his side, but it went the complete opposite way. The call went to the Warriors, and the Warriors decide again they're going to go for a penalty to. Take the 2 and they extend that lead up to 24 points to 18. And then, at that moment of time, I thought, I feel like we could go on and do this. I know there's a lot of time still left in the game. You don't want to write off Melbourne, but I felt pretty confident. I don't know why. I just felt very confident. But how did you feel with a couple of minutes to go there? The Storm looked a bit under the ropes there. I felt like we were putting plenty of pressure on them, and they're making some, giving away some penalties and, unusual. But, what were your thoughts there?
Well, I mentioned it a bit earlier, 36 minutes into the second half, and it was a near perfect 36 minutes from the Warriors' point of view, particularly on defence. The Storm had basically thrown nothing at them in that second half. Anything they had thrown at them, we were able to maintain, and we were firing on attack. So, I mean, like probably everyone, Christian, it felt like we were going to win that game. Why? Because we have all the momentum. We had dominated the second half. It hadn't even looked like the Storm were going to attack us. Yes, there was a little thought in the back of your mind, this is the Melbourne Storm, they might do something special. But I think, most people, if they hit a gun to their head, would have said that this is the Warriors game now, and with 4-5 minutes to go, whatever it was. we're going to talk about it very shortly. But yeah, I too felt very much like, this was going to be the first time in 15 games that we had gotten a win over the Melbourne Storm, and the first time at AAMI Park since 2014. So I was sky high with confidence, and probably to my own detriment.
Yeah, it's easy to think, oh, here we go, this is finally the time. But the Storm, I think it was another penalty this time, was Ryan Pappenhausen for a steal, and then it was 26-18 with only minutes away. And look, I felt like, here is the time. The Warriors are going to finally break that 14 losing streak against the Melbourne Storm, and the first one over the Storm since 2014. But the Storm, they continue to have other ideas. And this last 2 minutes of the game here, Ryan Pappenhausen, I thought he was having a great game, Ryan Pappenhausen. I thought he was having a brilliant game there. As with Jerome Hughes, I thought he was also great for the Storm, but he scored this. I think this was definitely the key try here to get them back in this with 2 minutes to go, because they looked out and they looked definitely out of it. Craig Bellamy, I saw they put the camera on in the Fox League coverage, and he looked a bit stressed and worried. He looked a bit concerned that things weren't going to go his way on the night. But with 2 minutes to go, Ryan Pappenhausen had other ideas and he scored a try. And what were your thoughts here on that Ryan Pappenhausen try? Because I thought that was just good individual brilliance there from Pappenhausen.
Yeah. Well, once again, similar to their third try that took them out to 18. It was beautifully worked, beautifully executed, perfect pass to Pappenhausen. I think that one was Katoa, wasn't it? Elisa Katoa, who had the inside ball, and it just I mean, it's almost impossible to stop a move like that. I don't care what team you are. It's just so well executed from the Storm. And it had, the Storm are one of those teams, probably like Penrith, and there'll be a few others in the NRL as well, which it almost feels like the All Blacks, where if they're behind and that you've left them time to come back and you give them the space to come back, they're the kind of team that as soon as they get a sniff, they will take it, with everything and run. And that's exactly what Melbourne did. They got that sniff, they got that try. And from there, Christian, even though they were still behind by, what was that at that stage, 2 points, you just felt like it was swinging towards them with a minute and a half to go, It was almost sort of head in your hand stuff when you saw Pappenhausen go in for a second time. You thought, oh dear, let's keep this together. Let's keep this together. It was. I was definitely starting to rise up out of the seat a little bit with a couple minutes to go.
Yeah, when I was standing up, I could have watched. I was getting real nervous. But when they scored that try, I was thinking, oh no, like hopefully we could hang on here. We've in the past we've done pretty well. We've hanged on for a few of those games, but the Storm themselves, never out of the game. They're never out of the game until that whistle blows. And Pappenhausen, man, that was just a brilliant try. Even as an opposition fan, I had to admit that was a very good try there for the Storm. And oh boy, this next play, so the next play down.
We don't have to talk about it, Christian, if you don't want to.
I don't really want to, but Xavier Coates, an acrobatical try there. I don't know how he got that down. Just that was incredible. Just wingers doing wingers stuff, I felt like watching on replay. I felt like maybe Dillon could have done a little bit better defensively to stop that try. What are your thoughts there? Do you think he could have done a bit more, or was it just impossible for someone to stop a try?
Well, let's just break down, the last basically minute of play, because you have an RTS error, uncharacteristic RTS error. He was trying to obviously get a penalty and play the ball, which gifted them the ball back in our own end with time to spare. And as I mentioned, with the field position and the confidence, Melbourne were always going to take advantage of that. Then we come out to last play. They decide to try and take a 40-metre field goal for 2 points. Already on the back foot, Jonah Pezzett, he's stepping back to take the kick. And the first thing I would say is, why even bother charging that down? Because he's 40 metres out on the angle, taking a step backwards. If he hits that, you're asking him to make a freakish play. And you're saying, if you make that, credit to you, we'll go to golden point, right? The game's not over. But you're highly likely to miss it, and we'll get the ball back, thanks, and we'll be able to kill the clock with a minute to go. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, this conversation around Mitch Barnett, what is playing at the ball? If we side by side it with Jeremy Marshall-King the next day getting hit in the face with a falcon and the ball dribbling out over the touchline, you can still approach a player when he's about to kick and not be playing at the ball. You're just really walking forward or running forward to make a defensive play. So the argument with Mitch Barnett is he's running obviously to put pressure on, but he's not trying to charge down the kick. He's running to put pressure on, and then he turns his back and it hits his shoulder. We can debate that one till the cows come home, whether that should have been, last tackle still, or if it was, handover, or six again. Then we come to obviously the play with Xavier Coates, and the hardest thing I think for Dallin in that situation is Remus Smith is already very close to the line, and he's got momentum pushing as he's pushing across. So as a winger, you are conscious of your centre, and maybe Dallin could have had a little bit more trust in Rocco, but you are conscious of not letting that centre get the best of your inside, and then he goes over the line and you left wondering if you just helped them out. So he got caught in that position a little bit. And then obviously Xavier Coates gets the ball. He's already a slight half step away. Yes, he probably could have been like a half step towards him, and that would have helped. But to your point, Christian, like, it's in sports so many times when things like this happen, we think of our team, we think of our players, and we choose to criticize them as opposed to applauding the opposition. I hazard a bet that not many, if any, NRL wingers would have stopped Xavier Coates scoring that try. He jumped from about 5 meters away and still was able to get the ball down despite being, 1.5 meters in the air as well. Could Dallin have done better? Probably. Could he have, tackled him as opposed to trying to push him? Probably. All of that's a big what if, and not giving credit to the fact that Xavier Coates just pulled off one of the most freakish put downs, some people were saying in NRL history. Certainly in comeback history, last minute tries, it's up there as one of the best. Yeah. So like I said, so many things in that last 1 minute that we could pick apart and we could look at. At the end of the day, it was just a brilliant game of football. And I know there's a comment here about us not closing games out. It was just an amazing game of rugby league that we just lost at the death. I know if you go through that game with a fine-tooth comb, you'll find a million things. But at the end of the day, we held the Melbourne Storm until the bitter end after being 18-6 at halftime in a place we hadn't won since 2014. At the end of round 2, we're 0-2, and it doesn't feel like we're a team that should be 0-2, Christian. When you look at some of the other teams on the NRL ladder, it doesn't feel like we're a team that should be 0-2.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said there. And, you've just, look, as much as it's heartbreaking, and I don't want to see, a try against the Warriors in the highlights reel, and it's going to be posted for quite a while, and, the Warriors are just going to have to, live with it and, forget about it. At the end of the day, it is what it is. And you got to give credit to Xavier Coates because that try was amazing. It was an amazing try. It was amazing effort. You don't often see that sort of stuff. And Xavier Coates, he just made that look very simple for him. The wingers these days, they do real incredible stuff in the NRL. We don't see it in any other. I can be honest. I don't see it in any other code.
No.
I just lost for words. It is heartbreaking. It's a shame, but you've just got to give credit when credit's due on an amazing try there from Xavier Coates. And Team Mel, just going through the comments, we should have kept the foot on the throat instead of the easy two with the penalties. We're on the red zone. So what do you thoughts see on that? Because I don't actually mind them going for the two a few times, but could we have gone for the try instead? I don't know.
Hindsight's 2020. It's easy to look back and given the end result, say, yep, we should have gone up in 4s instead of 2s. But I think we knew who we were playing. We knew the enormity of the task, and just getting points and getting ahead of them was the key thing. I mean, we probably shouldn't have given up 2 tries in the last 3 minutes. So being up 26 points to 18 is a pretty comfortable buffer, right? 8 points. It could have been more, and we could have extended that out. But then we could have looked, Luke Metcalf, I think, missed 2 kicks. Had he made those, we would have been, an extra 4 points ahead. It's so many what ifs. I don't think you can sort of comfortably say, we should have gone for 4 points there. Maybe T Miller has a point in being a bit more ruthless when we've got opportunities like that. But I think the right call was made. We needed to solidify the lead, if it meant going out to 8 points, that's two converted tries, or it's a converted try plus. And yeah, I feel like that was the right call. I wouldn't have questioned them on that.
Yeah, so the full-time score was 30-26 there. Unfortunately, the streak in Melbourne continues, the long losing streak. I'm sure there'll be a day when we actually finally break it. I mean, we've come close last year, this year as well. So we do have Melbourne again this year, so maybe we can beat the streak of beating Melbourne in New Zealand. We never know there, but
maybe we'll see. At least it's not an Anzac game, because that's the one we kill. Hey, I've seen that comment there from Jacko about being happy after a loss. Typical Warriors stuff of years gone by. I mean, Jacko, I don't think I said I was happy. Not happy at all. I just said that being 0-2 after 2 rounds doesn't feel like we're an 0-2 team, and I think you should probably, you might admit that as well. Of course, we being 4 points behind on the ladder in the NRL is a big deal. 4 points is hard to make up. As much as people say, "Oh, it's only 2 wins," 4 points is hard to make up, and we're disappointed that we're not winning these games. What's positive for Warriors fans is, well, I can list a million things, but the fact that we stuck in that game after being 18-6 down, and the fact that we had a lead on them up until the last minute, is more positive than what we've seen from the Warriors in years gone by, where that score would have blown out by 50-plus points. It's those sorts of areas that you look at and go, this team is much more improved. Things are starting to click, and once they do click, and I feel like I'm confident in saying they're going to click, then the side will challenge. It's not all there right now. There are errors in the game. There are some bad decision-making. There is, penalties that we're giving away. Do not deny that at all. But I still feel like the bones are there, even more so than last year, that once things do really start clicking for the Warriors, they will be serious contenders. And we've got injuries as well. Someone mentioned the injuries to the Storm with Munster and Nelson of Solomona. Well, I mean, Wade Egan and Chancellor Klukstar were 2 of our best players in 2023, and we didn't have them there. Nia Corde's not giving us that impact off the bench, or certainly not to that level. So we've got guys injured as well that are coming back, and that's exciting too. That'll add to the squad. So, yeah, I am excited. I'm not happy that we've lost. I'm not happy we blew that lead. I'm not happy we gave that game up when we should have won it. But I am more optimistic than previous years where we would have been 0-2 and I would have been looking at a team that just doesn't cutting the mustard. Yeah,
well said there. And I actually agree there on Sam's thoughts there in regards to, obviously being disappointed, of course. Like I'm disappointed we lost. Gutted. Obviously, I would have preferred us to win that game. Same with the Sharks game. Like I wasn't too happy with the way we played in that Sharks game, especially even though it was like, I know it was only a couple points in it, but I just felt like the way we obviously the attack just didn't function in that second half. It was a lot better than this game. I thought we were a lot better in terms of attacking against the Melbourne Storm. We threw a lot more against the Storm than what we threw against the Sharks. And look, to be honest, I feel like the Storm are a lot better of a side than the Sharks are. That's just my opinion. I know the Sharks have a good team as well, but I just feel like the Melbourne Storm have a lot more in terms of their players and that. But just going through the comment here, Jack is saying here that true, it's more positive. Obviously, we're far better than the last decade, but a loss is a loss, especially when the win was there for the taking. Yeah, I can't disagree with you, Jacko. I definitely can't disagree with you on that comment there. But look, at the end of the day, 18-6 down. The Warriors of the past years would have lost that by 50, 60 points against the Storm. Last year we didn't get a lot of games where we got flogged. We were always competitive in our matches, and we've done that in the first 2 rounds, albeit both of them have been losses, and we probably should have won those 2 games in reality. But yeah, that's just what I think here. But Jose is saying if we played the first half in round 1 and the second half in round 2 would be perfect. Yeah, well, yeah, I think.
Yeah. I wish that was possible, to just merge the 2 games together and somehow come up with 4 points.
Yeah, and he's also saying he has spent Sundays and today in bed depressed. So look, generally, because it's definitely hard just to get over a loss like that, especially the whole weekend after a lot on the Saturday and then Sunday. You're still thinking about it. I'm like, but hey, it's unfortunate at the end of the day. And we just couldn't do it. We just weren't good enough, to finish that game off, and the Storm came back with a wet sail. It's just Melbourne, the Melbourne of old. The Melbourne of old. The first 2 rounds of the season has sort of returned there, because I thought last year they weren't as consistent as they were, and they actually weren't really there. But just want to look at the game stats now. So we'll look into the game stats here, and possession-wise, Melbourne Storm had 49%, Warriors 51%. Completion rate, Storm 80%, Warriors 76%. The Warriors had 182 all runs, and the Melbourne Storm 166. And again, the Warriors dominate the all running meters. They dominated the all running meters in that first game against the Sharks, and they've done it here again against the Storm. Now, the Melbourne Storm had 1,494 to the Warriors 1,756. Post-contact meters, 448 to the Melbourne Storm. Warriors, again, dominating that one, 577. Line breaks, the Melbourne Storm had a lot more line breaks here, 7-4. Tackle breaks, Melbourne had that one there, 33 to the Warriors, 28. Average set distance, 42.7 to the Storm there, with the Warriors 46.22. And the kick return meters there, the Melbourne Storm won 111 to the Warriors 237. Average play the ball speed, Melbourne 3.36 and the Warriors 3.46. With the offloads, 8 to the Melbourne Storm, Warriors 9. So both these teams had a few offloads in this game. Effective tackles, Storm 87% to the Warriors 86%. Tackles made, Melbourne Storm made 288 tackles to the Warriors 283. Missed tackles here, Melbourne Storm 28, Warriors 33. It's quite a bit there. And errors, Warriors 8, Melbourne Storm 6 with penalties conceded. Storm actually conceded 8 penalties, which is a real surprise, and the Warriors 4. So what are your thoughts there on those stats there?
Well, I think obviously the run meters, is, like you mentioned, is another standout for the Warriors to win that 2 weeks in a row. And it seemed like that when you watch the game. It was easy meters. We were able to get into the opposition half with every set and then put a kick pinpoint into the corner. Makes Sean's job a lot easier as well. So, the run meters is a massive one. Everything else, I think, Christian, sort of reflects that it was a tight game. I mean, even the tackle breaks, there wasn't too much in that, and offloads, post-contact meters. It was a close game. When you go through the number, if you didn't look at sort of 18-6 half time and then the big second half from the Warriors, if you just sort of looked at it holistically, every number suggests that it should have been really, really tight, which it was. So, the Warriors, as we've talked about in these comments and stuff, they just have to turn more of that, that into more points. Especially, when you looked at that Sharks game, you got to turn those big meter sets into points. And with Sean's kicking, we should be able to march down into their area, put them in the corner, and make them work really hard to get out of their own end and eventually get on top of them or get a penalty or get a 6 again and find ourselves getting tries. I'm not going to say it's a simple game, but it seems like a simple way to go about it. I think a lot of that's encouraging. There's not a ton of missed tackles compared to the average across the NRL. And I think the Warriors actually sit towards the bottom in terms of things like errors and missed tackles and that sort of thing. So, the signs are, but the signs are there, like I said, that if things click well for us over 80 minutes, if we can get it done for 80 minutes, then we are going to be a team that can really rattle, any team this year.
Definitely, yeah, and I just feel like obviously that's the key, putting that full 40 minutes together, just the whole halves, both halves, and just not have one good first half and then the opposite. So, like T. Miller's saying here, the second half was good, just turned off at the 75th minute, when it really counted. So, which you can't afford to do in the NRL because, the game's not over till the siren. So, whether we get 2 minutes to go, a minute to go, and you're leading, you've obviously got to make sure you end the game well and finish it off. So, Will's saying, thanks, guys, good stuff. Cheers, Will. Really appreciate that. But the try scores, just go through this try scores here. So, Will Wilbrick, Nick Meaney there for the Storm. Ryan Pappenhausen with 2 tries, double tries there. And Xavier Coates, of course. That try there, which I'm not going to continue to talk about. But 4 from 5 conversions there for Meaney, and 5 tries to Melbourne Storm. The New Zealand Warriors scored 4 tries. Dallin with Tenza Lesniak with a double, 2. Jackson Ford and Marcelo Montoya, and a few penalty goals there. 3 from Luke Metcalf, then the penalty goals. Nick Meady, 1 from 1, and Metcalf, 2 from 4 conversions there. So moving on now. So we'll have a look to the man of the match. So you're 3-2-1. Who are you reckon was your standout players for the Warriors? Because I thought there were a few. I thought there was a few standout players, but who are your 3-2-1?
Do you want me to just to do the Warriors, or are we talking like across both teams, or is it just the Warriors players?
It's the Warriors players, yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, I'm going to give the 3 points. Surprisingly, maybe to some people, but I'm going to give them to Dallin. I think 2 tries, 196 meters, 2 line breaks, 4 tackle breaks, and just those carries. The effort and the carries of out of yardage sets off the kicks, particularly. I just think it was a great game for Dallin. Yeah, we can, like I said, analyse that try from Xavier Coates in terms of his involvement a million times over. But I think overall, Dallin, I'm going to give him the 3 points. 2 points for me. I'm going to give them to Eden. 155 run meters, 69 post contact meters, 0 missed tackles, which, that's just adding to a T. Played, I think, 66 odd minutes. Yeah. It's exactly what you need from your middle forward. He was giving us the punch. He was strong on defense, wrapping up the tacklers, and I couldn't fault him really. So I give him the 2. And then my 1 is, I'm hesitant to go with Ty. I would sort of want to go Rocco Berry, but I think you can't underestimate Tohu's involvement as well. 154 meters, 29 tackles, just getting through the body of work as he does through the middle, given his age. I sort of want to tie both of them together, Rocco and Tohu. If I had to pick, if you made me pick, I'd go with Rocco. I think defensively getting better and better every week. On attack, he's providing, he's threatening. His kick chase is fantastic. So let's go Rocco as my locked-in number 1.
Yep. All right. So yeah, as Jackie said here, that Dallin was outstanding for sure. Yep. So yeah, if my 3, I'm going to go AFB. Adam Fanua Blake. My 2, I'll go Dallin, and my 1, obviously, I'm going to go with Rocco Berry. I'm a massive Rocco Berry fan, as people should know by now. I put up a tweet a couple of days ago on the X there, on the Twitter, on Rocco Berry, and I know he had I know he came off with an HIA, but he came back onto the field in that second half, which was good. So yeah, he's outstanding. The first 2 weeks for Rocco Berry, I think, has been incredible. He's shown some great improvement for sure, like from last year to this year in the first 2 games of the season. So yeah, Rocco Berry gets my man of the match, my 1 there. So that's my 3-2-1. And Jackie is saying Rocco will become a top class center. It looks like a young Brett Tate. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely love Rocco Berry. I've been a fan through his junior days, and obviously he's had some critics, but I've been a fan, number 1 fan since. So it's good to see he's been outstanding there, and he's been doing the job. But that's the man of the match now. So now onto the player ratings now. So go through the player ratings like I generally do with all of my reviews last year. So first was fullback Tane Tuapiki. So Tane Tuapiki, I thought Tane was outstanding. I thought this was great to see how Tane played, and he was under a bit of pressure by the Storm, but he took it very well. He really did. He didn't make any errors. He made his tackles. He was very quick. He's a very quick player. Like seeing him when he was running with the ball there. So I was impressed with Tane, and I'm also a big fan of Tane Tuapiki as well. So I thought he was good. So I'm actually going to give him an 8 here. Might be a bit high for some people. Might be thinking it's a bit high, but I'm going to give him an 8. What about you? What did you think?
I'd sort of agree with everything you said. I think 180 meters, 1 line break assist, one try assist, a couple of tackle breaks, a couple of errors in there as well. I'd like to see Tane, we know what he can deliver now and what he's good at. I'd like to see him just being a bit more involved around the ruck. I'd give him a 7. I'm sort of using 7 as almost like my baseline you'll see throughout most of the players. So, yeah, great game from Tane. You can't fault him. He really is doing a good job of showing, Andrew Webster that he's ready to play first grade, that he should be in the starting 17 somewhere. At this stage, he's still putting Chance in when he comes back, but Tane's done a pretty good job, filling in.
Yep, and just reading through some of these comments here, Ezra Walters is saying here, the old saying is tries wins games, defence wins premierships, and our D hasn't looked the greatest in the first 2 games, or the last 2 games. And Jacko's saying he agreed for next team, 2 people was very good. He just needs time to grow into first grade. Yeah, absolutely, he does, for sure. Man, he's a small bloke, but man, he's very quick, He's a very quick player. And then you had him on last week on your show. Was it last week? Last week or the previous week?
Yeah, last Thursday, yeah.
Last Thursday, that's right. So I was listening to that. It was a great listen. Very humble bloke. Tane. So I got to meet him at the Titans match last year. Got a photo with him after the Warriors Titans game, post-match event there. And it was great to meet him and get a photo with him. He's a very nice bloke. So got a very bright future ahead, I think, for me. So yeah, it was very good actually. Dylan Watini-Zelezniak, DWZ, I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 here. I thought he was very good. Well, obviously, besides that, unfortunately, he couldn't stop that try, but that's a hard try to stop in saying it. But he still had a great game, scored 2 tries there. So I'll give him an 8 there. Dylan Watini-Zelezniak. What do you think?
Yeah, I've got him an 8 as well. Like I mentioned before, 2 tries, 196 meters, just those big carries, the defensive, the effort out of the defensive end, fantastic. So I'll join you with giving DWZ an 8 as well.
And Rocco Berry, obviously I'm going to give him a high rating because I've really took him up a lot in the stream. So
I'm going to give him an 8.
I'm going to give him not a 10, but an 8. Actually, no, I'm not. Yeah, I'll give him an 8. An 8. Yeah, an 8 for me. So I felt like obviously he was just outstanding. You can see that his defense too. Like he rushes up on the defense there and does a good job there. Actually, I think that's a little bit of an improvement on his game. So yeah, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I've got him an 8 as well. I think with Rocco as well, it's not just the eye test of, the stats test of, how many tackles he makes and how many, ones he misses, etc. It's the eye test of the type of tackles he's making. Obviously, they're important tackles. They're important parts of the pitch. They are sometimes, the last tackle before a big play's about to happen. So it cuts that right in half. And then sometimes the impact of his defense is it's enough to jar a defender or push them backwards or force an error. So I thought Rocco was outstanding on both ends of the paddock. So I've given him an 8 as well. Yeah,
and T Miller's just saying his defense is outstanding. Yeah, it has been, and I think we saw the Rocco Berry in that New Zealand Kiwis A game. I thought he was outstanding there. He showed it. He really showed that potential that he and now he's brought it here. So the first 2 games of the season. So yeah, his defense is definitely outstanding. I think I know a lot of people have some concerns over his defensive side, but like you can't really after these first 2 games, what he's shown. So yeah, well, it was great, Rocco Berry. But RTS, the other centre, I thought this game he was a little bit more better. I felt like he showed a bit more impact in that second half, especially. I'm going to give RTS here, Roger Jovas-Sheck, that is, a 7 out of 10. I don't know why I said Rocco there. RTS, 7 out of 10 for me. What about you?
I think you've got access to my notes here, Christian, because I've got a 7 as well. 135 metres, a line break, try assists, 6 tackle breaks, which is just standard Roger, isn't it? Yeah, he's really growing into that role. And as much as, some people really want to see him back at fullback, I just think with every week, he's going to get more and more comfortable playing in that centre role. He's going to go looking more for work. He's going to roam a little bit more. The key, obviously, for the rest of the group is to give him the ball with time and space, is to give him the opportunity to shine. Because when he is like he was on Saturday, he's a star. So, yeah, I've got Roger at a 7 as well.
Yep. Yeah, and Marcelo Montoya, look, I think Masala had a strong game. I'll give him a 7 there. I think he did his job very well there. So what about you?
Yeah, I think if you're giving 7s to like Roger and Tane, like I have, then I'll probably give Marcelo a 6. It wasn't that he did anything particularly wrong. It's just obviously I thought that first try he maybe have competed a bit more with Will Warbrick. He missed. I think he only made 5 tackles, missed 1 as well. So yeah, it's not a bad performance. But I just when you compare him to I guess Roger and Tane, who I've given 7s to, I'll give Marcelo a 6.
Yep, yeah, that's fair. And Luke Metcalf, what are your thoughts here on Luke Metcalf? I thought I thought he was solid. Was he spectacular? I probably would say no, but I think he was solid enough there. I'll give him a fair rating. I'll give him a 6.5 out of 10 there. But yeah, like what are your thoughts here on Luke Metcalf?
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 7. Like I mentioned earlier, I think taking a little bit more of the playmaking responsibility away from Sean. 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, tackle break himself, 12 tackles. I think he only missed 1 tackle all game. I think Luke's really growing into that playmaking role. So I think a good game from him. And I'm going to give him a 7. I'll just quickly answer that Jacko question as well, because it's a question that I talk about a lot, on here at SENZ. Is obviously the net gain of having Roger at the back and Ali in the centres versus Roger in the centres and Chance at the back when he's fit. And probably, Jack, I would have said at the start of the season, I would almost favour RTS at the back and Ali in the centres because I am a massive Ali Leatoa fan. But I've sort of come around to the idea that obviously Ali will get his time. He still needs to grow into his role and into first grade as well. And just seeing how Roger's been able to take on the centre role over the last 2 weeks, I'm sort of lent now towards Rocco and RTS as being one of the better defensive pairings in the centres, and then having Chance back is going to add a massive amount to that fullback position. So, I'm now in the RTS Rocco camp as opposed to the Rocco Ali camp.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are very high on Ali Leatoa going into the season. A lot of people were wanting to see him get a start, and look, he's a very good, talented player, Ali Leatoa. Seen a bit of what he did in the Cup side last year, and we saw him make his debut in the NRL last season. Unfortunately, he obviously had that injury after that, and didn't get to see the rest of the first grade. But then he came back and played a bit of Cup at the back end of the year. So yeah, look, big fan of Ali Leatoa, very big fan, but it's really hard to, pick a lot of these players. Hard to get them all into the 17. So you've always got the coaching headache, which I'm glad I'm not Webby. I'm glad I'm not Webby for that one, but yeah, I'm glad I'm just a fan, not a coach. But so yeah, that's actually a good question there, Jack. I really like that question there. But Sean Johnson, halfback there, Sean Johnson. What are your thoughts here on Sean? I'll give him a 7. I thought he was a little bit better this week. Last week I wouldn't say he was bad last week against the Sharks, and obviously he put a lot of pressure on the Sharks. A few resets of sets and a couple of goal line dropouts and pressure on the Sharks here. But what were your thoughts here on Sean? Obviously, there's a lot of expectations going into this year with Sean. There's a lot of pressure. After the year he had last year, I personally think for me there's no pressure on him this year. I don't think there's a lot of pressure put on him this year. But what are your thoughts here on the game he played against the Storm? What are your thoughts on this performance?
Yeah, I'll give him a 6. Quiet by his statistical standards in terms of like I said earlier as well. No line break, no line break assists, no try assists, no tries himself, etc. Yes, the kicking meters were there. He made 3 missed tackles as well. So I'll give him a 6. I think what I'm really liking about the Sean Luke combo, and it's the combo that I like to view them as, is, Penrith did it with James Maloney, where you bring in an older half to basically bring along the younger half in the hopes that he's going to eventually take over. Sean last year still was that game breaking 7 that probably should have won a Dally M. This year, I feel like he's letting Luke play a bit more, and that's allowing him to just be a little bit more of a manager and a little bit more of a background player. So he's not going to have the big stats like he had last year. He's not going to have 3 try assists. He's not going to have 2 or 3 line break assists. going to be more managing
Yeah.
what's in front of him, being the first receiver or the second receiver. But I guess a little bit quiet in the Storm game, so I'll probably go a 6.
Yep, and Jacko's just saying I thought Sean had a good game, but his stats died, maybe not. And Sean, I'll give him a 7 there. As for Adam Fanua-Blake, who again continues to put in the performances like he did throughout last year. If there was any doubts on Adam Fanua-Blake's commitment to the Warriors, well, don't even bother thinking that, because the first 2 games he just punches out the numbers yet again in terms of the running meters and stats. And boy, I thought he had a good game against the Storm there. I will give him an 8. I think it was really good. So 8 from me. What about you?
Yeah, I'll give him an 8 as well. I mentioned those stats for 450 meters and no missed tackles. We know what we're getting from Adam, and it's good to see him still, being the big bad Adam that he was last year, despite, not being with the Warriors in 2025. So I've got him as an 8 as well, a very strong 8.
Yep. And Freddie Lussick. How did you think Freddie went there in the starting role of 9 this week? This time not coming off the bench like last week, like against the game against the Sharks. We had to play longer minutes, come off, and Wade Egan was coming off for the whole game. So I felt he was a bit better this week. Last week against the Storm, I really felt he had a lot of better performance. So I'm actually going to give him I'll give him a 7 out of 10, actually. I thought it was a lot more better.
Yeah, I'll give him a 7 as well. I agree. Like much more improved than last week. Did his job well. I said I'd like to see a little bit more deception, manipulation around the ruck, maybe a bit more running. Picking the ball up and catching the defense off guard. But as I think someone mentioned earlier as well, he's still growing into that first grade role, and he's not at this stage a starting hooker. He's still that off the bench hooker. So he'll only grow better into that role. But like you said, much better than last week, so I've given him a 7 as well.
Yep. And Mitchell Barnett, how do you reckon Mitchell Barnett went?
I'll give Mitch a 7 as well. I think he only missed 1 tackle all game, which is pretty big from him. Solid, does his job well, puts in big hits, is physical. It's not like they're just tackles; they're tough tackles, and he wrestles. Slows the ruck down, which is perfect from your number 10. So strong game from him. I'll give him a 7.
Yeah, I'll go with a 7 as well. I thought it was very strong there. Jackson Ford. Now I thought this was a much improved performance on what he showed last week. The previous game against the Sharks. This time he didn't give away a few penalties. He didn't make any mistakes. So a lot better of a showing from Jackson Ford. I'll give him a 7 this week, actually. What about you?
Yep, 7 for me. Just chalk and cheese from last week for Jackson Ford, and he's that type of player who works extremely hard, and no one's a bigger critic of himself than of Jackson Ford than himself. So much better than last week. An important part of the Warriors machine as well. He gets a 7 from me. Yep,
and Kurt Capewell. Look, I didn't think it was his best game. I'll be completely honest. I didn't think it was his best performance. What about you? What are your thoughts here on Kurt Capewell? Because I think he's a great inclusion to the side, definitely. The experience he brings to the table. He's been to a couple of successful teams. He's got that wealth of experience, but I don't think this was one of his best games. Be completely honest.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I've put him down as a sort of a 6, maybe a 6.5. 34 tackles, 4 missed tackles. Obviously, one of them being the one on Jerome Hughes, which let him get away. Someone I see Jacko saying the injury. Yeah, maybe that was a part of it. He wasn't at 100%. So it just felt a little bit off for Jackson. I'm not going to say he had a terrible game or a poor game, but it just felt like he wasn't at his absolute best. So I'll give him a 6.5.
Yeah, I'll go 6.5 as well. So, and then we got Locke there, Total Harris, and the captain himself. Again, great performance by him. Always leading from the front there. I'm going to give him an 8. So 8 out of 10. I can't give him a low rating. He was outstanding. You can't give him a low rating every week. He's always up. He's always there.
I saw Someone said on our station today that, age is really catching up to two. I seriously couldn't disagree more. 154 meters, he puts in the work on defense. And, with those meters, that they're important, post-contact meters. He's bending the line. He's creating opportunities. He's giving us good field position. So, I don't think I see Jacko, no need to rate him. It's not far off, Jacko, to be honest. I'll give him an 8.
Yeah. So now to the bench now. So we had Tom Ale off the bench here, and then we had Bunty, Afoa, Dylan Walker, and Chinara. So what did you rate all those players there out of 10?
Sort of, it's hard to obviously give interchange players those big ratings. I sort of just went 5s across the board. Maybe Dylan Walker could get a little bit higher because I thought he added some good punch when he came on. But Tom Ali obviously didn't get big minutes. Neither did Chanel Harris-DeVito, only coming on at the end. Bunty got a little bit of a stint in there. But I mean, I know 5 sounds low because it's a 5 out of 10, but it's probably more. It's a 5 based on the minutes. If they had more minutes, they probably would be 7s type thing. So. They contributed in the second half, but I sort of have just given 5s across the board.
Yeah, that's fair. I've got a few 5s in and a 6 and a 7 there. So, that's it. That's the player ratings now. So that's the game out of the way. Now we'll move on to this week's game. So I just want to put up a question here for Sam here. Regards to the Raiders game this week, and obviously Teamless Tuesdays tomorrow. And where to next after the Storm game? So what do you reckon here? Where to next for the boys here? And do you think this Raiders game this week in Christchurch on Friday night is a must-win game? Because is it a must-win game? Is it a bit too far to say it's a must-win game at this point of the season, or?
I would say it's probably must-win for the confidence of, the fan base, and maybe it's a must-win for the playing group to get over this sort of hump that we think they've experienced in the first 2 games. But I don't think you can say it's must-win in the fact if they don't win it, they're not going to make the top 8. They're going to be outside of, contention because it's just such a long season and we just can't make that sort of claim now. But I seriously do think, Christian, I think, the Raiders, I said it all year last year that I think they commit ladder fraud on a regular basis, and I think they're committing ladder fraud right now. They've beaten 2 fairly average teams, and they're going to come up against their biggest test this Friday. And with how the Warriors have played and how they're hurting from that Storm game, mate, I mean, look, people will come on here and criticise me in a week's time, but I almost think it could be a cricket score on Friday. I think the Warriors could actually do a real number on them in Christchurch. Look, it's if you want to say must win and the fact that they really need to show us that they can turn it around, sure. It's not going to cost them the competition, but they need to show, I think, themselves and us that they have the ability to play for 80 minutes and get a win in the win column, which I think they will do. I think they will do it on Friday night.
Yep, and Jackie's saying here, if there is a chink in Webster's arm, it's the bench rotations and the bench selections and the rotations. Yeah, well, what are your thoughts here on that? Because the game against the Sharks, I was wondering the same thing. I don't generally doubt Webster's selections, but what do you think? What do you think there on that comment there by Jacko? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I don't totally disagree with it. I think Webby's probably in the last 2 games in 2024 probably trying to work out his bench. The plan was to have Niakore coming off and playing that impact sort of prop ball running role, which probably means you drop either Tom Ale or Bunty Afoa and the using utilities. The bench looks a little bit different, and obviously having Wade, I just think he's the victim of maybe having planning and not being able to adapt. So in terms of your criticism, Jack, I get it. His bench selection to rotations, maybe it's more his ability to adapt to these changes he's had to make, and he just is trying to work out that best way to use that bench and rotation. I thought against the Storm it was interesting, to use CHT only for basically the last 10 minutes or so. It was a very short period of time that he came on for. Was sort of bizarre. It's almost like a waste of an interchange. And then some of the other guys only got small stints as well. So, yeah, I'm a little bit more empathetic towards him given what he's sort of trying to navigate. But, yeah, maybe that is a criticism, is that he needs to be a little bit more adaptable with making those selections and those rotations. Yeah,
well said there. But team is Tuesday. Do you expect any changes, or do you think this team will line up the same? What do you think is going to happen there? Like,
Well,
with Egan, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen there with Wade Egan because I'm not too sure what they're going to do there. Is he still going to be out or? They've already. I think Webster said that Chance Neil Cookstad is still a couple of weeks away. He's still a couple of weeks away. So we'll see.
He said he's not playing this week, so that you can rule that out for Chance. But Wade's obviously just a day by day almost basis of how much mobility he's got in the arm. If he's not available, I think it pretty much is the same 17. I don't think it changed much. The Raiders obviously love to have bigger boys on the bench. So maybe he wants to keep the bulk on the bench with Tom Ale and Bunty Afoa. But maybe even bring in Jazz, for a little bit of mongrel there. But I think overall, it's pretty much the same 17 that gets rolled out again on Friday.
Yeah, and Jose is saying, I wonder how the boys will be mentally this week, which was on the fly on the wall in the meetings and the sheds. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how they respond going up there to Christchurch this week, which gets to host the game again. Gets to host another NRL game, which is awesome to see. So hopefully the people in Christchurch can get on down there and give the boys some support because we're going to need it. We're going to need it for sure as we try and get our first win of the season. So, Sam, really appreciate you for coming on. Thanks for coming on and giving your time up. And, thanks again. It was great to have you on and talk about the game. Obviously, next time, hopefully we can get you on with a win. On the board. So that's awesome. So cheers. Thanks, Sam, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
No, mate, it's absolutely my pleasure anytime. And obviously thanks to all the comments as well. I do love all the conversation and the debate around the Warriors and sport. It's what makes it fun. If we weren't able to debate, then it wouldn't be half as entertaining. So big shout out to everyone as well, Jacko, and all your comments. And we'll do it again soon, Christian. I'll be looking forward to it.
Yep, and just a comment here: is Mayu free to play? Apparently, he was suspended a couple of weeks ago. Is he free to play? I'm not too sure.
Suspended in that last trial game. I'm pretty sure it was a 4 week. At least I think it was 4 weeks. It might have been 3 or 4. Either way, he's definitely not available for this game. He's not available just yet.
Yeah, all good fun and games. Cheers, fanatics. So appreciate you for tuning in. Really, Jackie's one of the most loyal view of the channel, and you always watch some content. So a big shout out to Jacko. And Jose is asking here just a quick question before we sign off for the night. He's asking, where can we find Sam on the internet? So where can they find you for your views? So
you can jump. I mean, I obviously do a lot of stuff on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. So it's just Sam Hewat, and that's HEWAT. You can follow me on Instagram as well. Not that I sort of post too much there. And then, of course, on all the SENZ channels. So running it straight to our podcast every Thursday. We have live commentaries on SENZ every Warriors game, home and away. So if you want to tune in for that, you can either download the SEN app or just listen on your computer browser or on your phone browser. Some people like to sync us up to the TV as well. You just have to sort of pause the TV and sync us all up. That's you can find me in all those places.
Awesome stuff. So that wraps it up for the night. Just want to give a quick prediction. What do you reckon Warriors over the Raiders?
What do you think? I'm going to say 32-10.
32-10, right, awesome. So, again, thanks to Sam for coming on. Go and check out his stuff there as the SENZ radio. Does some great work. The commentary, really love the commentary. Really love what you do there. It's great. I also love listening to the Running It Straight show every week as well. So keep it up. Keep up the good work there. And hopefully we can catch up at the Warriors Knights game. Hopefully we'll see you there at the Warriors Knights game in round 4. So,
Absolutely, awesome. Mate. We'll go and grab a beer after a win.
Yes, definitely after a win. Hopefully, yes, for sure. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you don't forget to like the live stream. Click the thumbs up button. Like this live stream or like the video back if you're watching it back. And also don't forget, if you're a new viewer to the channel, please make sure you don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel as well. It's all really much appreciated, and it really does also help the channel as well. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good night, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow night again on the YouTube channel for a preview. Got a special guest on tomorrow night, Canberra Raiders fan. We're going to preview the Warriors-Raiders game, look ahead to that game, which will be a massive game as the Warriors look to get their first win of the 2024 season. Cheers. Have a good one, everyone.